Let me ask you something. If your job no longer defined your day, what would you do with your time? And I don't mean just for the first week or two of retirement. I mean, day after day, month after month. No meetings, no deadlines, no team to lead, no reason to check your inbox. Sounds like freedom, right? But here's the thing no one talks about. Freedom without direction can start to feel like emptiness. So today, I want to walk you through one of the most important and confronting questions to answer 5 years before you retire. And no, it's not about how much money you have saved. It's about purpose. And if you stick with me, I'll help you figure out exactly how to prepare for it, so you don't just retire, you thrive. By the end of this video, you'll have a simple way to figure out what you want your days to look like after you stop working, and how to start shaping that life right now, before the clock runs out. We'll break it down into 3 parts. First, I'll show you why purpose matters even more than finances after retirement. Second, we'll look at what happens when you don't plan for it, and I'll share a true story that might surprise you. Third, I'll walk you through a simple 3-bucket method to build a life you actually want to wake up to. Let's get started. You've probably heard it 100 times. Make sure you have enough to retire. And yes, of course, that matters. But here's what most people overlook. Retirement isn't just a financial event. It's a life shift. And without something meaningful to fill your time, the days can start to blur. Think about this. For decades, you've had structure. You wake up at a certain time, you have a place to go, people who rely on you, tasks that matter. That rhythm gives life shape. Now take all that away in one day. Are you starting to see the gap? I once worked with a man, let's call him Bill. Retired at 62. Financially solid, had saved well. On paper, everything looked perfect. But 6 months into retirement, he told me he was bored out of his mind. He'd already traveled a bit, finished the home projects, took the grandkids to the zoo, and then the days just got quiet. Bill said, "I thought retirement would feel like summer vacation, but it feels more like Sunday afternoon, over and over." That stuck with me, because what Bill was missing wasn't money, it was meaning. Now, let me break this down a bit further. When you don't plan for how you'll spend your time in retirement, you risk 3 big things. You lose identity, you lose social connection, and you lose motivation to stay active, physically and mentally. Let's talk identity first. For many people, especially those in leadership roles or service professions, your job becomes a big part of who you are. So when that job ends, there can be a real sense of, now what? Next is social connection. Your coworkers, clients, even that barista you see every morning, they form your daily community. Without them, it's easy to slip into isolation, even if you don't realize it at first. And finally, there's health. Studies show that people who stay mentally and socially engaged after retirement are less likely to develop cognitive decline. That's no small thing. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it because it's real. And the good news is, it's also something you can control. You can choose how your next chapter unfolds, but you have to start designing it before you get there. So let's talk about how to do that. I want to introduce you to a simple framework I share with my clients, especially those in their late 50s or early 60s who are thinking ahead. It's called the 3-bucket method, and here's how it works. Every meaningful retirement has a mix of 3 types of activities: fun, useful, and important. Let me explain. The fun bucket is just what it sounds like, the things you do purely for joy. Maybe it's gardening, playing music, traveling, or taking that art class you never had time for. This is where play lives. The useful bucket includes the day-to-day stuff that keeps life moving: grocery shopping, appointments, walking the dog, fixing the sink, helping out your adult kids from time to time. These things aren't exciting, but they give rhythm to your week. And then there's the important bucket. This one is crucial. It includes activities that give you a sense of contribution or legacy: volunteering, mentoring someone younger, leading a book group, sitting on a local board, helping a cause you care about. Researchers have found that just 7 hours a week spent on these important tasks can create a deep sense of fulfillment. That's 1 hour a day. It doesn't have to be a full-time job, but it does need to matter to you. Now here's what most people get wrong. They focus only on the fun. I'm going to travel. I'll sleep in every day. I'll finally do nothing. And that's great, for a while. But eventually, even the most relaxing lifestyle can feel hollow if there's nothing to anchor it. That's why you need all 3 buckets. They balance each other, and they give structure to your week, even without a job. Let me give you an example. I had a client named Sandra. Retired teacher, age 64. Super energetic, full of ideas. She spent her first year of retirement going on cruises, catching up with friends, organizing old photos. By year 2, she felt restless, like she was drifting. We walked through her buckets. Fun, covered, useful. Sure, she was taking care of household things. Important, empty. So we looked at what mattered to her. Turned out, she loved storytelling and had a gift for connecting with young people. Sandra started volunteering at a local school, reading with kids who struggled with literacy. Just one day a week. 3 months later, she told me, "I feel alive again." That's the power of meaningful activity. You don't need a packed calendar. You just need purpose. And now is the perfect time to start exploring that. In the next part, I'll show you exactly how to identify what belongs in your 3 buckets, and how to test those ideas before you retire, so you know what truly fits. We'll also talk about common roadblocks, like fear of change or feeling like it's too late, and how to move past them with confidence. But before we get to that, let me ask you this. If you stopped working tomorrow, how would you fill your next 7 days? Think about it. Really think. And if that question stirred something in you, then don't miss part 2. Before you go, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What's one thing you'd love to do if you had more time? Drop it in the comments below. And if this video gave you something to think about, feel free to like, share, or send it to someone who might need it too. See you in part 2. Now let's talk about how you actually figure out what belongs in your buckets. Here's what I tell my clients. Don't wait until the day after you retire to figure this out. Start now. Because the best way to know what gives you energy is to experiment while you still have the structure of work in place. You don't need to overhaul your life. Just carve out a few hours here and there to try things on. You might find out that something you thought you'd love actually drains you, or something small turns out to be deeply satisfying. Let's say you've always imagined volunteering at an animal shelter. Go in one Saturday. Help out. Notice how you feel afterward. Was it joyful? Was it exhausting? Did it feel like something you'd want to do every week? Or maybe you've been thinking about writing a memoir or starting a blog about your family's history. Don't wait for some perfect day when you're finally free. Start writing one story this weekend, just one page, and see what comes up. The goal isn't to commit to anything. It's to gather information about what feels like a good fit for this next chapter of your life. You've probably spent decades doing what you had to do. Now it's time to discover what you want to do. And the only way to know is to try. Now I get it. Sometimes this kind of exploration brings up resistance. Maybe you're thinking, I don't even know what I like anymore. That's more common than you'd think. When you've been in provider mode for most of your adult life, your own preferences can get buried. So here's a tip. Think back to when you were younger, before the job, before the mortgage, before the family obligations. What did you naturally gravitate toward? Maybe it was fixing things, helping people, being outside, creating something, performing, learning, organizing. Your core interests usually leave little breadcrumbs throughout your life. You just need to go looking. And if you really feel stuck, ask someone who knows you well. Ask them, when do you see me light up? What do you think I'm naturally good at? You might be surprised by what they say. Now let's talk about one more big barrier, the fear that it's too late. Too late to start something new. Too late to matter. Too late to be seen or heard in a meaningful way. I want to be very clear about this. That is not true. You are not too late. In fact, in many ways, you're just getting started. I've seen people in their 60s become mentors, artists, writers, volunteers, neighborhood leaders, even business owners. Not because they wanted to chase success, but because they finally had the time and perspective to do something that felt aligned. And here's the beautiful part. The people you help, the communities you touch, they don't care how old you are. They care that you show up. Purpose doesn't come with a deadline. It comes from being useful, from being present, from being willing to offer something real. And let me tell you, the world needs what you've got. Your experience, your wisdom, your time, your stories. All of it matters more than you know. I remember working with a client named George, retired engineer, brilliant guy, very humble. He wasn't sure what he'd do after retiring, didn't see himself as the volunteering type. But we dug a little deeper. He used to tutor high school students back in the day, just for fun. So I asked him to try it again. Fast forward 6 months. George is now mentoring 2 college-bound teens in math and science. One of them recently got accepted into an engineering program, first in their family to go to college. George told me, I didn't think I had much to offer. Turns out I just needed someone to ask. Sometimes, all it takes is a nudge. And if you're listening to this, maybe this is yours. Start small. Make a list of 3 activities you've always been curious about. No pressure, no expectations, just curiosity. Then pick one. Block off an hour this week. Try it. Notice how you feel before, during, and after. That's your compass. And remember, your purpose doesn't have to look dramatic. You don't need to change the world. You just need to feel like your world has meaning. Even something as simple as walking a neighbor's dog, helping at a local library, or hosting a Sunday meal with family can be deeply purposeful if it aligns with who you are. Now, as you test and explore, you might notice that your energy shifts. You start looking forward to something again. You stop counting down the days to retirement and start shaping them instead. And that's the sweet spot. When retirement is no longer something that happens to you, but something you actively create. And here's another thing to consider. The people around you, your partner, your kids, your friends, they're watching how you make this transition. You can be a model of what's possible, not someone who fades into the background, but someone who reinvents life with curiosity and courage. You can show that retirement isn't the end. It's a pivot point, a doorway into something new, not necessarily bigger or louder, but deeper, more true. So let's bring it home. If you're 5 years out, or even 2, or even already retired, now is the moment to start asking better questions. Not just how much do I need, but also, what do I want my days to feel like? Who do I want to spend time with? What gives me a sense of contribution? And what's one small thing I can do this week to move toward that? Because small steps lead to big clarity. You don't have to figure it all out at once. You just need to start. With a conversation, with a notebook, with a quiet walk and an open mind. If anything I've said here today resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it. What's something you've always wanted to try, but haven't yet? Leave a comment below. Share your thoughts, your hopes, even your questions, because your experience could help someone else watching this right now. And if you found this video helpful, give it a like, share it with a friend, or subscribe for more guidance on how to build a life that works for you. Remember, you've still got time. You've got options. And most importantly, you've got something real to offer. Let's make the most of it. Thanks for watching.